be giving the microphones to each other. So Shodah, you will be giving from that side, and I'll be giving from this side. And somehow, who are we missing? Why are we having? Oh, Tyriel. Oh, okay, okay, all right. No worries.
He's gone to film
no
some through the lens footage.
He's coming. Sorry, what?
He's gone to film some through the lens footage.
Oh, through the lens footage. Oh, right,
He's
right,
over there,
Tyriel, of course. Of course, I'm sure he did. Let's wait for him. But thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on stage. I hope you enjoyed the program so far. And okay, we have summed up number 1. Very good. 2. All right. Fantastic. All right. So I would start just asking you, based on what you heard today, and of course you're writing about XR all the time. You're into the topic. What do you think? Where do you think the XR is today, and where do you think it will go in the next few years, and how you basically think about the whole industry? So let's start with you, Scott.
Hi, Scott Hayden from Road to VR. So the state of VR, state of XR rather, we've witnessed that today, right? Every presentation we've seen has been literally the state of how things are. And where it's going is a big question, because right now we're seeing sort of PCVR, despite standalone onlookers, people that use standalone headsets, it is growing. It's not obviously growing at the expected exponential rate that standalones have taken with, vis-a-vis Meta, but all, how do you say it, like rising tides lift all boats. Yeah. So I'd be interested to hear what David Heaney has to say.
Yeah, I think I'd echo a lot of that. I think with VR today, it's definitely multiple sub-markets. People really want to categorize it as this one giant thing, but it's not. There's PC enthusiasts who many of them are doing, flight simulation and racing sim, and that's where Somnium VR1 seems like it's well positioned to enter. Then you've got a lot of people doing social VR. But the main market right now of VR that is very, very large is obviously generalized gaming, right? And what we're going to see, I think, in the next few years is VR expand out. It's already done that in the enterprise sector, in training and visualization, in collaboration. But I think in the next few years, we're going to see the consumer market expand beyond gaming, and we're going to see things like, there's productivity use cases that are only barely just doable now on headsets like Vision Pro, as well as entertainment, as we see headsets that are, lighter and slimmer and more focused to watching traditional media on like an aircraft or in your hotel room and things like that.
I have no idea of the question.
He wasn't here for the question.
Yeah, listen, you have to improvise.
I think that...
Okay.
Let me just tell you the question. It's where do you think VR is now, and where do you think it's going in the next few years?
Okay. Where is now? I think is a very weird spot, because we have a lot of enthusiasts that really love pushing it as much as they can. I'm one of those. And we also have a lot of people that are in complete disbelief of this technology. So we found ourselves in this constant battle to actually get our words out and bring a message, when at the same time we have deniers that don't really want that thing to become a thing. And I see, of course, I'm one of those people that keep pushing as much as possible. And I see a future, a path on this technology, because we all do. We are here because of that. There are people working on headsets. There are people working on software. And I feel like we are going much faster than what everyone is actually believing. But no one wants to realize it just yet. I feel like it's good that some big companies like Apple are stepping into this thing to just bring some awareness. But you can see that even Apple is not enough sometimes to give this breakthrough in the technology. So as much as I would like to say that I know where this thing is going, I absolutely have no clue of what's going to happen. I just think that is a great thing for every different application we can imagine. And I I hope it's going to be something for everyone because I see the appeal, I see the potential of it, and we just need everyone to be able to see it as well.
Shodah, you have to give the microphone.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, this way.
Oh, that's okay. I am too. Hi. VR is still for weirdos, frankly. That's not a bad thing. Like every technology starts with weirdos, and like it takes a while for it to break into that non-weirdo crowd. Like I think the industry has been just humbled, really this year especially. Like we had this entirely huge funding boom with the metaverse stuff that happened recently, and like now we're kind of coming out of that, and we're kind of seeing sort of this more humbling and like more organic, slow growth going on, which in my opinion, I think is very good for the industry in general because we're truly figuring out what things will work, what things actually resonate with people, and instead of just like throwing stuff at the wall, we're still throwing stuff at the wall, but it's getting a little better. So I think it's just gonna be, the next few years, it's still gonna be mostly slow growth, I feel, but it's all gonna be more organic, and I think people are gonna be happier in the long term over time as that happens, so yeah.
What do you think, Shodah? How do you rate their answers? On a scale from 1 to 10?
I like Brad the best. 10 out of 10. No, I think we need more of Apple Vision Pros going on. We need more clones. Stuff like that. Yeah. Is it a good place? Look, we're all here today for this. And I think it's only going to get better.
I think the beauty of it is, like, I love my Vision Pro, but I also love my VR1, PCVR. It's just different use cases, and I enjoy them all. Maybe I'm the weirdo, probably, sure, 100%, but it's something, you know, I agree with David. It's like, you know, there will be crystallized use cases which are just barely touching the surface, and we don't know what's going to be the mainstream use case. But I also believe that wearable spatial computing, kind of like the next gens of Vision Pros, I truly believe that, you know, when I first time put the Vision Pro on, I kind of said to myself, yeah, in 10 years, whatever the timeline is, because we're always wrong in the timeline, but in some years, okay, in some years, it will be weird not to wear a visual spatial computing device, and it will be weird to take it off and see this empty world around you, not having all this additional information coming. And I'm not talking about those like stupid videos where like it's overload of advertising and stuff, like popular videos on LinkedIn, but more of a realistic use case where you'll see things you want to see. You know, if you're traveling, you'll see those pop-ups and restaurants and whatnot. So that's that. And on the other hand, for the true immersion, I believe that PCVR is and will be still a thing, because that's where you can drive this last pixel to the last limit. And then of course things like Tesla Suite, if you combine them together, that's the holy grail. Why I started Somnium, to have this full immersion and to be able to kind of live that through. I guess maybe, by the way, guys, if you have any other questions or thoughts, just raise your hand and I'll give you the microphone. David?
Sorry, go ahead. You go ahead.
I really believe PCVR is more important than what many people think, because it has this power of creating wonder, making understand the possibilities of the technology. We are seeing trailers from like standalone games, small applications and everything. And it's hard to convey the fact that those can be immersive too. You know, like you see like 3 polygons together and they tell you that it's an amazing face. Like, I don't believe it. I want to see the next generation avatar in front of me. I want to see that next generation graphics. And even if it's not something that everyone can use, it's actually something that everyone needs to see, I think, because that is where it's going to be. And it's just like years ahead, where the technology still needs to, you know, unfortunately not everyone can afford like a 4090 to run some applications. But I feel like those applications, PCVR in general, it's very needed because that's where we see what we can actually have in the future.
Yeah, at the very least, PCVR, where it is today, is a North Star. The kind of graphical fidelity that standalone headsets can deliver today is simply nowhere close to what's going to bring this mainstream. But one thing I do want to echo the sentiment is that this industry is very, very early. In the wider tech media, the more general tech media, there's this tendency to treat everything like smartphones, because a lot of these people who are doing the analysis started in sort of 2010, that kind of era, and then followed this industry of what is really pocket computers, thinking that this just came out of nowhere with the iPhone. But the iPhone was the culmination of decades of advancement in portable pocket computers. Right now in VR, this is more akin to like the late 1980s of personal computers. This is still so early, and there's decades to go. This is something that's going to be measured on the scale of decades, not a few years.
Just to add to that, I think that some of that comes from the fact that we are seeing, new headsets almost every year. 2019, first Quest, 2020, Quest 2, And so I think the consumer base they are looking for the next thing, but as Brad stated, we are the weirdos. We want literally something better every single year. I know I do.
Yeah, and just want to say that in terms of the graphics, what Tyriel was saying, it's true that the PCVR is delivering that next generation graphics. What at least it's benchmark, And one thing I would say is why we have a lot of simulators here to show. It's not because we have chosen the simulators as our market. It's the simulators have chosen us. When I speak us, it's Somnium like a VR1, because the simulators are one of the best VR experiences which could convey to people the immersiveness of the application, right? Because it's hard to maybe, we do social VR in Somnium, so it's hard to convince some people, the mainstream people, like social VR is, hey, it's great. Then you have weirdos and weird avatars and God, what, you all know what I'm talking about. But so you have that, and then they will look at it and they say, okay, what's in that for me? But then when you put them behind the steering wheel of the car in VR or an airplane, they say, wow, that looks absolutely one-to-one real. And they kind of get it instantly. So it's good that that crowd drives the kind of also the PCVR forward, because they want that immersiveness. And thanks for the games like DCS and Microsoft Flight Simulator, they're actually bringing it in a big way, because you can feel really immersed. Shodah, what do you think?
Why is Beat Saber still like the main game for VR? Of all the things you can do, all the PCVR, the graphic quality in that is massive. Why is it the simple games that seem to attract most people? Make sense? Do it make sense?
I mean, I think, it's a good question. I think it's because the other aspect of VR that draws people in is that direct embodiment and interactivity, right? There are experiences that are incredibly graphically simple that people still like to enjoy. These are the absolute best experiences in VR combine these both things at once, right? You have this direct hand interaction, embodiment, and incredibly immersive high-fidelity graphics. That's something that you can only really see on PC today, but you can imagine that eventually standalone headsets will get there. But one other thing I wanted to just say is that we are talking a little bit pessimistically about this is early, this is a small market, and this is for weirdos. And in some ways that's true, but it should be noted that there are millions of people out there, regular, normal people who own a Quest. And as someone who's been following this industry for a very long time, I remember like 10 years ago, you would talk about VR and nobody would really even know what you're talking about. Today, I talk to my Uber driver or my barber or someone behind a bar and they go, oh yeah, my brother or friend or cousin or son or daughter or me has one of those. And I say which one, and it's, oh, the white one that's wireless. And it's usually the Quest 2. And a lot of the time you get this kind of sentiment of, I've really enjoyed some of the games on there. I can't wait until it looks like the same graphics I get on my PlayStation. And so you can see that the reason I bring that up is because you can show that there is this appetite there. You have this direct evidence that there is this appetite for this technology. It's just that it has a long way to go to get to where it can be mass appeal for hundreds of millions of people.
I just want to know where Valve Deckard is.
Stop! You violated the law.
Brad, can you tell us where?
No.
No.
You will know.
It's not real. It was all a hoax. You all fell for it and subscribed to my YouTube. And
But Brett, wait. No, don't give that microphone back. Wait, keep it.
Okay.
I have a question for you. So
Yeah.
you are you're one of the most probably heavy users of Vision Pro. Like I use it probably on average right now, like an hour a day or something like that, maybe 2 hours sometimes. You're using it much more.
Yeah.
Tell us your findings, because I'm literally genuinely interested. Like how did you evolve in your usage of Vision Pro over the time, and what do you find interesting, and what do you want from the next gen Vision or whatever that will be?
So I guess the things I'm finding is I want more from what you can do in terms of like, I'm still kind of using it mostly as a peripheral to my PC and stuff, because a lot of the actual tools that I would do for a lot of like video editing and stuff is on the PC. It's kind of crazy to me that there's like still, not even by Apple, like a version of Final Cut on the headset and stuff like that. And I think that's really frustrating because the one thing I like about Vision Pro is it made me come around a lot on the idea of standalone as for computing, because it's got a lot of power in there from like the compute side. But it is doing a lot, but it's also, I feel like it could be doing way more in terms of that, just having those sort of apps on there. But like in terms of the hardware, I love it. I really do. I think it's pretty awesome to have like this flagship product on the industry that's pushing like all the components that you really can get. And I think that's really good for not just like, Apple doing their thing, but I think them with their control of the supply chain is just really good for the other players here. And like, hopefully as time goes on, some of those components will be available for people like, Stan was talking about on stage, how it's so frustrating how not only do these big companies do these things and like also lock them out from the components, but like over time, I hope that companies like this can get access to it. But no, the hardware is great, but at the same time, it's still not good enough. Like it really isn't. It's just still not good enough. And I want more in terms of like, especially brightness. That's a really valuable thing. I think brightness is one of those things where like I like to take it out in public because I'm a weirdo again. I went to the beach and I did all my work at the beach because, hey, that's actually kind of relaxing. You can like look at the waves and you can put your freaking windows on the waves of the beach, and that just seems kind of surreal but amazing. But it's like I'm wearing the most polarized sunglasses in the world. It can't replicate what I'm seeing through the pass-through, not even just the VR itself. And more of just the resolution, and I think the actual eye tracking as well. There could be a lot done there.
Do you have a virtual beach in Vision Pro? Come on, you have the beach right there. You have mountains.
I know, but there's something, even though they have base environments and they're pretty great looking, right? But like there is still something to having, like, I think that was kind of the sleeper hit for me when it comes to mixed reality, is just like, I was talking about this with my wife who's in the audience, and it's like, I kind of want to become a full-time like RV backpacker or something, and like literally travel the world in like all these national parks and stuff, and just make the world my background for mixed reality and just do all my work in all these areas.
All right.
I know it's really crazy. I'm a crazy person. I'm not.
We're
but
back
like,
at weirdos, okay?
Yeah, and it's just really interesting to think about how, because people are like, oh, doesn't that like disconnect you from the world? But I feel less disconnected doing my work in a headset than I do on a laptop, because I look down at my phone like this all the time. Yeah. I don't look at my friends. I don't look at nature or anything. The same thing with the laptop. I'm like this. Whereas with the headset, I'm more so looking at the environment I am than any other technology, which is kind of interesting that I think people haven't really realized. So yeah, long answer, sorry, I talked too much.
No, it's perfect. I just want to say something. It's I always give this example because it kind of stuck in my head. But when I was giving presentation about Somnium Space, like a social VR platform in 2019, 2020, in Prague, actually, and I remember one woman just out of the blue, she just stood up and she said, like, why do you hate reality? I was like, whoa. I like reality, I like Prague, but you have to realize that actually us doing this, we're much less social than us being in social VR and talking to people in social VR, because we have, non-verbal communication. We're looking and listening to the person. We're being present at the conversation, whether it's virtual or real, different. But us typing on WhatsApp is horrible. David, you want to say something, right?
Yeah, I was just going to agree with that. Not only is VR more social than the current remote communication technologies, as you say, WhatsApp or disembodied voice call, which people don't realize, right? It's not about, VR is not about replacing real life. It's about being a better telepresence technology. There's currently nothing like being in person, but VR has the potential to be a much closer bridge. The other thing I really wanted to agree on is what you said about brightness, Brad. That was one thing I really enjoyed with VR1. And a while ago, I tried a meta prototype called Starburst, I believe, which went up to 20,000 nits. And I think you tried it too. Remarkable, the effect it had. It was much more impressive than I thought. And people's instant reaction is, oh, is that going to burn your eyes out? No, of course not. You walk down that street outdoors on a summer's day and you're getting hundreds of thousands, if not millions of nits to your eye. It's just about how your eye can adapt in time. And one question for you I was going to ask, Brad, is the point you make about Vision Pro being in many ways limited by the software and apps more than the hardware is a very good one. And it seems to be the also complaint with the iPad Pro, to go slightly off the industry, you know, it's the same issue where it's this incredibly powerful mobile computer and it's running mobile apps, not a desktop app. The first question I have for you is, do you think Apple will eventually let the Vision headsets run Mac apps? And secondly, if they don't, do you think that's Valve's big potential with Deckard? Well, it's a specific question. If they can bring a PC-like operating system, obviously a SteamOS, Linux-based thing that can run full desktop applications, if Apple doesn't want to, do you think that's Valve's opportunity?
The way I see Apple doing it personally is I think they will expand on what they're doing with Mac Virtual Display, because just like how they don't want iPad Pro to cannibalize their Mac sales, I feel like they'll do the same with Vision Pro, where they'll be like, oh, you want to run Mac apps in its own window compositor on the headset? Well, we have this, we're going to build up the software so you can buy both the headset and the Mac. That's how I see it going in the future, because they have full control over all that Mac OS compositing and stuff. Eventually they'll do it. Now they're just kind of dipping their toes in it, and I think they're realizing that a lot of people are connecting their MacBooks. I took off my monitor off my MacBook, and like it's a headless MacBook, and it's very cursed, but it's actually really fun to use and bring around with the headset. But I'm working on an article. I heard someone say that is cursed. Yeah, it is. I know. I'm working on an article. I know I'm the crazy Deckard guy, but like, the most recent stuff I've been writing about is actually, I do think Valve is working on kind of bridging that gap, because talking about Steam Deck, if you don't know what it is, it's basically a PC handheld device, and what they built for it is not just the SteamOS, which is based on Linux, but the main thing was the translation layer from Windows to Linux apps, and it works very well. And me and my data mining nerds have been just going crazy recently, finding out they're working on a lot of translation layers right now, not only to Windows to Linux, but x86 to ARM as well. So it's very imaginable to imagine one day not only a translation layer would work only for what, you know, just games that Valve is good at on Steam, but also everything else that runs on Windows, and try to get, they're also working on freaking, it's more of a container, but like getting Android apps also running on their SteamOS as well. So you can just imagine, like, there would be something pretty magical if you could have a all-in-one headset with enough compute that can run Android, Windows, and Linux apps all under one umbrella. So that's an article I'm writing. It's going to be a really convoluted article, but it's, yeah.
If I can say that it's a very unpopular opinion, probably, but we already have that in a way, even if it's going away because the company that created it decided to ditch it completely. But we have Windows Mixed Reality that did exactly that 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Like, the technology probably wasn't there because we didn't have the great headsets to actually see those windows. Like, I wanted to use, you know, Adobe in there. I couldn't because I couldn't see the timeline. But the framework was already there. I could open every single Windows app in a single spatial computing way in a much better way, in a way that what Apple is doing right now, I feel like they're catching up on that idea. We didn't have pass-through in that moment because they were pushing HoloLens, and unfortunately HoloLens had a very bad chipset in there, so they weren't able to actually run anything. Opening the browser was crashing the entire Windows on ARM experience. But I feel right now, the thing will be different if they, of course, didn't abandon everything completely, and also kill headsets for all the users that bought it during the years. But we kind of already had that. Why do you guys think that nobody thinks about it? And second, what's the reason why it didn't go through?
So I guess to answer your question with a question, who else is capable of doing it? If it's not Microsoft, is it Valve? Who is it? I don't think we have that answer because Valve is so cagey when it comes to building out Steam VR and making it that sort of environment where you not only have multiple windows, but you also have spatial computing. You have everything in a spatial computing context. I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe Google, we'll see. They'll try with Android XR or something, who knows. But just a little bit a different question to you guys, because you are writing and talking about XR, you are in the middle of all of this. And just from a different perspective, how did your audience change from within the years of you talking about this industry? Because one way we know how the industry has changed, but how did audience change? Because you see different people a lot, so maybe we can start right there.
My bad.
It was much closer.
Sorry.
I saw the audience change a lot. I don't know, I even changed a lot. So it's hard to understand where, the thing about having a YouTube channel, you keep evolving and you keep changing and adapting to things, but also you want to retain your own roots and your values and everything. But what I saw, it was at the beginning, it was very technical. Everything needed to be technical. You needed to go very in details about everything because people were really interested in that. And then we moved to, I don't give a beep about details. I want to just know if it works, what's the experience, because things like the Oculus Go, the first Oculus Quest were starting to come around. And the interest wasn't anymore just how does this work, but also how can I have fun with it? So there was a shift in the audience also because much more people actually arrived from not having an interest completely, or from people that had powerful PCs, willing to spend money on headsets, to people that spend $300, $400 on their first headset, and they want to just have fun. So you needed to start to think about introducing people more than start to be just technical. And then now we're coming back a bit on the technical side because these people are also growing and they're starting to see the potential because they were, they entered the market, they entered the appeal, and they want more because we're humans, we always want more. And now they want, again, some of the technicality behind. It's just a full circle, and I'm pretty sure it's going to start to repeat again. With Apple, it's even different because the interest is more on the hype in a way, on the potential right now. It's not really on what it's doing. Nobody's talking about the fact that most of the time you need a Mac to use the Vision Pro, like you're saying. To use the actual functionalities, you use it a very expensive monitor. And it's fine, it has its own functionalities for it, but what's there? You need to talk about oh, in the future, we're gonna have that. Oh, super cool, thank you. It's complete in involvement and going up and down, let's say. You already have one.
I'll just say my audience, I'm a very cynical person online, very, very, very cynical. I'm sorry if I ever cynical you out of existence from my Twitter and stuff. But anyway, get it cynikilled? Like, okay. Anyway, yeah. I noticed actually though, how do I put this? I noticed because my audience has been mostly just the extreme end of enthusiast side, and me being cynical, they actually just, my audience grew more cynical of XR in general as time went on, to the point where I think they might out-cynical me, which is crazy. I don't know how you do that, but yeah, it's gotten really wild, which is good. I love them. I think it's pretty fun to have a cynical take on an industry, but yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think before Quest and Quest 2, a huge percentage of our readership were people who hadn't actually themselves jumped in yet. They were still very much so watching the industry develop as a thing that was not quite ready for them. And they were waiting, like, when is the headset that I jump in? When is this ready for me? A lot of people, didn't have a gaming PC, or they just didn't feel like the content was there. And then around the time of Quest, and also around the time of Half-Life Alyx on the PC side, you saw a lot of people start to jump in. And then for maybe the past, 2020 to 2023, it was a lot of just, as you were saying, people who weren't looking at the tech specifically. They were just saying, I have this headset, what can I do with it? What are the best ways to make use of it? And now, with Vision Pro and some of the other things we've seen this year, you're getting a lot of those same people coming back into this interest in development, because they're saying, I have this headset, even if it was just something I paid, $250, $300 for. I want to know, when can my headset or one at that similar price point start to do some of the things that we've seen in Vision Pro, these use cases that expand beyond gaming? There is this huge interest now, again, in how quickly will the lower end of the market, because there are a lot of people who simply either don't want to or can't afford to buy a $2,000, $3,000 headset, or even a $1,000 headset. There are a lot of people who their budget is $300 to $500, and that's what we're seeing now. A lot of our audience say, what are we going to see in that price range in the next few years? Are we going to get spatial computing? Are we going to get the ability to download and watch 3D movies? When's that going to happen for us? So I think that's what we're seeing in our readership right now.
I think obviously a lot has changed, a ton has changed, but that has pretty much remained the same. That's the same sort of conversation we could have had maybe 5 years ago, maybe with a different headset, maybe with a different set of technologies, not necessarily spatial computing, but mobile VR instead, Oculus Go. Everyone was really pinning their hopes that they could transfer the library of Gear VR to Oculus Go and saying that's what's going to break through, that's what's going to get the consumers ready. And we look back at that now and say, no, thank you. You can't even sell one. I found one in Tokyo for like literally $2. Like, I found an Oculus Go wrapped up in plastic for like $2. So yeah, I mean, we're going to keep having this conversation over and over and over, because that's the cycle, and that's the cycle that we have to repeat in order to continue forward. Think, what do we need? Where are we going? Answer that and continue forward.
I was just going to bring up the term, I thought someone was going to bring up the idea of the eternal September, the constant influx of new users. It's always a huge percentage of the people who are reading engaged about this at all times throughout that entire history have been people who are just jumping in, and there are people jumping in every month, every year, and they're the ones that are most interested, because they're probably the least cynical if they've just jumped in, and then as they get older and more jaded by what they see and maybe lack of progress, then that's when they start to sort of engage less with what's currently going on.
Yeah, Ty and I were having a conversation off stage yesterday, and we were talking about, like, why do you add, not specifically at me, but reading an article, like at the very bottom of the article, there's like this big old context piece. Like, I'm so tired of writing that same context piece. I'm so tired of having to explain the same things over and over, but it's not for us. It's for the new users, the onboarded users that want to be a part of the conversation. And they want to enjoy this niche, and we can't be gatekeepers to that. So, I mean, that's a different conversation entirely, and now I'm totally going off rails, but yes.
By the way, I love those people who are commenting always like, Artur, if your headset would cost $500, you would sell a ton of them. Like,
thank you, I know. I'm aware of that fact. Before I start to wrap up, just maybe Shodah from your side. You recently, like a few days ago, you tried Vision Pro for the first time. I know you use Valve Index and Quest 3. Just as the first time Vision Pro user, how did you find it? What do you like? What you didn't like?
What I like? Well, I think it's the first headset I could happily sit there and watch a film in. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
The demo video of where they're throwing the ball at you. I kid you not, I went to grab it, and I've been in VR for years. If that blows me away, what is it going to be like for the average user? What I will ask though, and you boys live and die VR, and you're in it all the time. Why is there so much hype I mean, I like new shiny toys. Everyone does. Why is there so much more hype on the hardware and not the software, the games and stuff?
I'm already quite comfortable with the software I have. I know that's very small, like very weird, but like that's why I also like the spatial computing concept, like taking things that you do on your other devices and just kind of like doing that in a spatial context is something I've really enjoyed, especially with Steam VR. Like I was a few years ago, I was the weird guy who kept talking about Steam VR overlays and like how that's going to be the big thing one day when Valve does something. No, but like I think that's really exciting for me. As far as gaming, I'm not really aligned with VR gaming personally myself these days. I wouldn't say there's too much fault to anyone in there. It's just I just kind of grew out of that, waiting for the next Half-Life Alyx, right? Like it's you know, there's been good stuff here and there, but I love playing Dota 2, and now I can play Dota 2 on a headset, which is really crazy to hear for some people, but that's what I like to do in it, so, yeah.
Well, you said it like who doesn't like new shiny things every time. Also, like, I feel like, I don't know, I'm a big hardware guy. If they could release like a headset every week, I would be very, very happy. So please, guys, do that. Because like, I don't know, it's the excitement to see like how much this technology is growing all the time. I feel like the hardware is the benchmark that you need to reach with the software. Like, if you don't have the hardware, the software is not possible. But the software, yes, the software drives sales. The software gives the experience to everyone. But you need the hardware. You need the new hardware all the time. You need like the new lenses. You need the new screens. You need the new tracking capabilities. Because like, it's not perfect yet. And you want it to be perfect. And if you give me a new headset every week, it will be that little bit more perfect no other time, right? Exactly, 1%. For me, it's enough. Just giving me the 1%. We're going to arrive to the 100%.
Marek, you heard him, right? We have a lot of work to do.
We are 1.1.
Yeah, I think the answer to the question is simply because the hardware isn't good enough, right? It's like, if you look at the smartphone industry, for example, it is deep, deep into the territory of diminishing returns. A smartphone you get from one year to the next is almost identical at this point. Like a lot of the time it's, oh, the camera's like 4 megapixels more and we changed the material of something. The average person could not tell even a phone 3 years apart at this point. In VR headsets, we're nowhere near that, right? We're still in the area of maximum returns. It's like the headsets of today will look ridiculous in 10 years. If you give someone a headset today in 10 years, if they'd never seen it, if this was like someone who's just born now, they would almost think it's not real. They would think like, surely this is something from decades and decades ago. This is why the hardware is so important, because it's not comfortable enough, right? The majority of headsets are still, if you put them on the average person, they'll still say, ow, this hurts my face, right? That's not going to be, a product that hurts your face cannot go mainstream and be used by hundreds of millions of people. It's still not high resolution enough, even the highest resolution headsets for the most detailed work use cases and productivity, though we are starting to see headsets that push that. VR1 on the PC, we're seeing, Vision Pro. They're just getting to that territory. The field of view still isn't wide enough. That's one of the things I'm happy to see VR1 push, because it's stagnated for far too long. the whole idea of VR is this idea of feeling that you're in a different place, that you're somewhere else. If you're only seeing this in like a binocular feeling, constrained scuba mask view in front of you, that's not good enough. So to me, the reason that hardware is so exciting is because eventually we will get to a point where the hardware isn't the issue anymore, and people put on these headsets and they're lightweight and comfortable and highly immersive and powerful, and then that's when the software matters. But we're just not there yet. The hardware is still really bad, and I don't mean that because I don't like the hardware. It's just that we're so early. But in the same way that any personal computer from the 1980s by today's standard would be bad, or the 90s, it's just this is the very beginning.
We're still very much in an evolutionary uptick on what is going to be next and what's next, and our expectations still haven't leveled off like that. We're still not to the black rectangle in our pocket stage of things. If it's become abundantly clear that all I can do is offer like banal platitudes, but photons are easier to ship than atoms, and so it's the value of software right now is inherently lesser than the value of hardware. Hardware is really difficult to do, and especially when you're in a niche, it's very difficult to create. So, I love UI updates as much as anyone, but we really do get jacked about the hardware because it's so important to unlocking software.
Just looking at where, if you were today an HTC Vive, and then you were today one of these, you really feel the difference. 5-6 years in development, what changed is crazy. And so you can just imagine what's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. And in terms of field of view, for example, like Hypervision, if you tested those optic stacks, you can kind of see where it's going, or at least I can see where it's going. It's not going to happen overnight, and that's one thing which I see commonly in the discourse, like your discourse sometimes, Brett, and our Discord, and comments. People think oh wow, okay, hey, there's a new screen announced, or I saw the screen on the display week somewhere. So basically, they just slap the optics on the screen, boom, and you have a new headset, and it's amazing, it's double resolution, right? It's coming tomorrow. It's no, it's not coming, not even 3 years probably, or not even 4 years from now. So that's something which what people don't understand. Okay, we have 3 minutes left. Maybe some closing words you guys want to say? It's your floor, your time.
Anybody have any spicy takes? I've been trying to ask people about spicy takes. Anybody? You got one?
I don't think spatial computing is productive. I don't think it's good for productivity.
I think the PSVR 2 is alive. But sorely neglected. It is the latchkey kid of the VR community, and that's one of the saddest things that happened recently.
I think the kind of AR glasses that people want are much, much, much further away than anyone wants to admit.
I can do one while he's thinking. Or two. Can I do two? Am I allowed to do two? One is taking full money for pre-orders and not delivering the hardware is bad. Okay, I don't like it. And now I forgot the second one I wanted to say. What was that? Anyway, I'll think. Brett, now it's your turn. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. Affiliate links. I'm not a fan of affiliate links for some reason. I don't know. I just feel like they are. Sometimes I understand why they exist, but sometimes it's just.
Why do I feel more pressure than I've ever felt in my life right now? This is weird.
Good. Good. Mission accomplished. Shodah, give us the spicy take. Wait.
Even though I love VR, I love XR and all that stuff, I don't actually believe that VR has shown any clear path for the mainstream, all ages to actually succeed yet. So, yeah.
I'll just say that.
What?
No, I love it. Sorry, it amplifies my voice. As much as I love it, as much as you love it, I think it'll always stay niche.
Exactly. All right. I think with that,
optimistic. Oh wait, you.
I was just going to say Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple, said the same thing about personal computers. He said himself, the inventor of the Apple II, the co-founder of Apple, he is on the record many times back then saying, all the people that think that computers are going to be in every home and used by everyone are crazy. What are you talking about? This is going to be a small niche for enthusiasts, and I think the same exact pattern will happen in this industry.
We do literally have VR behind both of our outlets' name, UploadVR, Road to VR. So just take that with a grain of salt. No, it's true.
You don't know which form in VR is going to be. VR can be like in different forms. It doesn't have to be in the headset, so probably you're imagining the headsets not going mainstream, but you know, it's going to be different.
I want to see non-invasive brain-computer interfaces as soon as possible for VR. I think that's like probably the thing that will activate. So this is not a hot take. I want just a last comment thing, but like the one thing I love about the eye and pinch thing is it almost feels like a brain-computer interface. It's so close to that. If we have like even just EEG, I think there was a slide earlier talking about that. I think that will really freak people out in a good way. And maybe that will be the thing that might activate VR more for the mainstream at some point. But today, no.
All right. Amen. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on stage. I really enjoyed this conversation. And in 5 minutes, we'll have another great conversation and another great keynote from Robert, but we'll need to clean these chairs. So thank you very much. See you in 5 minutes.
That was horrifying.